Daf Nun Tes Amud Aleph, 13 lines from the top. Tanya Kikushan. We learned previously that the order, the Seder of the Avodah, is that there's nothing after the Talmud Shel Ben Harbayim, except after the Talmud Shel Ben Harbayim is the Korban Pesach, where Makra the Korban Pesach, because Yuchar Dover Shenemor Ba'erev Ubein Harbayim L'Dover Shalei Nemor Boy Ba'erev El Ben Harbayim. There's a double expression of in the evening by the Korban Pesach. It says Ba'erev Ubein Harbayim. So therefore, there's a double expression for the evening. So the Korban Pesach was even after the Talmud. The Gemara had a kasha. Well, if that's the case, we should say by the Keteris and the Neris also that we should say that the Korban Pesach should come after the Keteris and the Neris. Now, the Tana held that the order is the Ben Harbayim, the Korban Pesach, the Keteris and the Neris. Well, if we say that the reason that the Korban Pesach comes after the Talmud Shel Ben Harbayim is because it has a double expression of Ba'erev, it has a double expression of in the evening. It says not only Ben Harbayim, it says Ba'erev. Well, why don't we say the same thing by the Keteris and the Neris? Then we should say that the last thing is the Korban Pesach. Yet this Tana holds that the order is the Talmud Shel Ben Harbayim, Pesach, Keteris and Neris. Why don't we say the same thing that we should say that Yuchar Dover Shenemor Ba'erev Ben Harbayim to something that only says Ben Harbayim? The Gemara answered that the pasuk says Yarach Oisa Aaron Abanav Me'erev Ad Boker. It says Oisai. Only this should be from the time from the evening until the morning. This is the only avodah, the hadlakas haneres. Nothing else comes after it, and there's a hekesh between the neres and the keteris. However, the Gemara continues v'tanya kikushan, but there is a brisa, there is a Tana that says that held like the kasha that was asked, and therefore he says the order is different. He says Talmud koydem leketeris. He says the Talmud Shel Ben Harbayim is before the Keteris, but Keteris Kaidemus L'Neres, then it's the Keteris which comes before the Neres. The Neres Kaidmais L'Pesach, and the Neres are before the Pesach, because Yuchar Dover Shenemor Boy Ba'erev Ben Harbayim L'Dover Shalei Nemor Boy Ela Ben Harbayim Belvad. Because of this kasha, he says by the Korban Pesach there is Ba'erev Ben Harbayim. It's a double expression of in the evening. It says Ba'arev and it says Ben Harbayim. So therefore the Korban Pesach is last. So he says because of this kasha, he says that in Chanami that the order is Talmud Shel Ben Harbayim, Keteris Neres, and then the Pesach. More according to this Tana, it says Oisai. The previous Tana says from the fact that it says that Me'erev Ad Boker, that it says Yarach Oisa Aaron Abanav Me'erev Ad Boker, it says Yarach Oisai. This is Me'erev Ad Boker. Therefore, nothing else is Me'erev Ad Boker. That means that the Neres are the last thing. What is this Tana of the Brisa? What does he do with that limit of Oisai? More answers. Hi, Oisai mi boile lemute avodah shepanim. It is we darshan the Oisai, and only this, but only in the context of what we're talking about in the avodah shepanim, the avodas that are in the Kodesh Kadashim, meaning like the Neres and the Keteris. Over there, those type of avodas, there's nothing after the Neres, meaning that it's first the Keteris and then the Neres. The Neres are after. The hadlakas and neres are after the keteris, but it's not referring to the avodas that are b'chutz, that are outside the heichal. So that's what it's not talking about in that case. So hayoisemi b'alamuta avodas sheb'pnim umaynu keteris, and it's excluding the keteris. So I might have thought the pasuk says is that when are you marked to the keteris? It says b'halos aron es haneres, when the candles are lit, the neres of ner is lit, then yaktirena, he burns the keteris. So you might think ema nadlik neres bereisha v'hadra nakter keteris. I might think, well, first are the neres and then are the keteris, because it says ubahalos aron es haneres ben yaktirena. So the mashmos is that the neiros are burning, the menorah is already lit, and then you're marked to the ketairos. To exclude that, that's why the Torah says, no, between the evening and the morning, the only avodah that's bifnaim is the avodah of the neiros. So the ketairos is before the neiros. Well, how do we understand the pasuk that bein harbaim yaktirena? Isn't that mashma that when the menorah is lit and it says then yaktirena, that you're maktir it when it's lit? It says halosar, says haneres bein harbaim yaktirena. Isn't that mashma that the burning of the ketairos is when the menorah is already lit? Well, it says no. Hachi kamar. What it means to say is, when you light the menorah, the ketera should already have been burned. The ketera is already being burned when at the time that you're makter, at the time that you're madlik the neiros. There's no avodah that precedes the Talmud Shel Shachar. Except for the keteres. It has a double expression of biker. So just like we said before, a double expression of be'erev means that it's later. A double expression of babiker tells me that it's earlier, that it precedes it. And therefore we say that the keteres, yukdem keteres, davar shenemar babiker, it says double expression, d'chsiv v'hikter alav aron keteres samim babiker, l'davar shalei nemar al babiker echad. So that should precede the Talmud where it only has one expression of biker. It's like keves echad, yasav babiker, it only says one expression. So therefore, nothing comes before the Talmud Shel Shachar except the keteres. Like the keteres, they split it. It was one half was burnt in the morning, one in the evening. The one in the morning is before the Talmud Shel Shachar. The one in the evening is after the Talmud Shel Bein Arbayim. And there's nothing that comes after the Talmud Shel Bein Arbayim ela keteres v'neros of Pesach, except keteres, neros, and Pesach. And umachusar kippurim be'erev Pesach shetayvel shenis v'aychos epischol erev. And another exception is Mechusar Kippurim. So what is a Mechusar Kippurim? There are certain types of tumah, or certain types of people that have to be mitayar themselves, that not only by being toivel, and not only by even counting 7 days, but on the 8th day they also have to bring a korban. It's Mechusar Kippurim, like a zov, a zova, a yoledes, a metzora. So they have, in addition to the tefillah and the counting of the days, they have to, on the 8th day, bring a korban. Now, they can't eat kachim. Someone who is a Mechusar Kippurim cannot eat kachim until they bring their korban. So, if you have a case where a person was a Mechusar Kippurim, and it was Yud Daled Nisan, and it's the 8th day, it was Tyra. So he was supposed to bring his korban, he was supposed to bring the korban during that day. Now, if he forgot, or there was a mishap, and they were already makriv the Talmud Shel Bein Arbayim, and he has not yet been makriv his korban of the Mechusar Kippurim, so it'll come out that he can't eat the korban Pesach that night. He can't be mekayim the essay if eating the korban Pesach. So here we say, we make an exception. We say, even though they were makriv the Talmud Shel Bein Arbayim, this person, he is makriv the korban for his Mechusar Kippurim, and he, after the makriv it, he's toivel again. This is a tefillah the Rabbanan. The Rabbanan were matzrich a second tefillah after the bringing of the korbanos. That's a chiv the Rabbanan. So he's toivel sheni, it's vaisal pischol erev, and he can eat the korban Pesach at night. So here we say the mitzvah of the korban Pesach is doiche this mitzvah hashlama that alei hashlem kol korbanos kula. Rabbi Shmuel ben Aishel Rabbi Yochanan ben Roika, he says not only by the Korban Pesach, he says even if it's not for the mitzvah of eating the Korban Pesach, even if it's a mitzvah for the mitzvah of eating korbanos, even if it's not the Korban Pesach, for instance, a shlomim, if he brought a Korban shlomim, and now if he is not going to bring his korban for the Mechusar Kippurim, he won't be able to eat the shlomim at night. So again, we say that it's doicha the mitzvah shlama, and he brings it after the Tom Shel Ben Arabayim. He's tayvel again, the second tefillah after bringing the korban, meaning he brings the korban, he's tayvel again, and he can eat the kachim at the night time. Frank the Gemara, Bishlam Tanakama, we understand that Tanakama Yava Esed the Pesach, Sheish by Kores, that we understand why we allow him to bring his korban after the Mechusar Kippurim, after Tom Shel Ben Arabayim, because that enables him to eat the korban Pesach at night and to be mekayim the mitzvah of Korban Pesach. So therefore we say Yava Esed the Pesach Sheish B'Koretz, because the mitzvah of Korban Pesach, eating Korban Pesach, is a mitzvah zesi, and if he doesn't do it, if he's not mekayim it, he has an avera of Koretz. He has a punishment of Koretz. So it's more chomer. So we say that let this essay of Pesach, which is chomer, v'yitcha essay dashloma shein b'Koretz, and it should be doicha the essay of Ashloma, that not to be makriv anything after the Korban Shel Ben Arabayim, because there's no chorus over there. So the essay of eating the Korban Pesach is more chomer. Therefore, we say let it doicha the essay of Hashloma, of Aleh Hashlam Kol HaKarbanos Kul. Ella, however, Rabbi Shmuel ben Aishel ben Broika, my umad hayaseh. Why should we say that he should be makriv the korban of the Mechusar Kippurim to enable him to eat the Mekayim, the essay of eating the kachim? Why is that stronger? Why does that override? Why does that doicha the mitzvah's essay of Hashlama? Omer Avinu, Omer Rav Chisda, en chanami. It's not doicha, but the reason he says you do it is because we have an eitzah that will enable him to do it without being over the yisr. Hacha b'chatas ha'ifas kinan. We're talking over here specifically where we allow him to do it is if the korban that he is missing, that he did not yet bring, is a chatas ha'if. It's a chatas ha'if, and so Mitzayer has to bring a chatas. If he's a poor person, if he's poor, if this Mitzayer is poor, he brings a bird. Now this bird is not burnt on the mizbeach. So hacha b'chatas ha'ifas kinan shein l'mizbeach el adama. There's only the blood avoided with it. It's not burnt on the mizbeach. Now this over here, therefore, it says it's not a violation of the mitzvah of Hashlama, because when we say that alei hashlem kol hakarbanos kulam, when we say that you cannot be makriv any other korban except for the Tom Shel Ben Arabayim, then when we say that all the korbanos have to be completed after the Tom Shel Shachar, you can't be makriv something after the Tom Shel Ben Arabayim. What we're referring to specifically is you can't burn anything on the mizbeach after the Tom Shel Ben Arabayim. But by the chatas ha'if of the Mitzayra, the chatas ha'if, you're not burning it on the mizbeach. You're only doing the avodas hadam. You're sprinkling the blood. You're doing the hazos hadam. You're not burning anything on the mizbeach. Therefore, he says that's not a violation of the mitzvah's essay of Hashlama. So that's what we mean. In a case where the Mechusar Kippurim is a mitzvah and the korban that's missing, the korban in question is a chatas ha'if, there's no violation of the essay of Hashlama, and therefore we enable him to bring it so that he can eat his korbanos. He can be kind of the essay of eating his korban at the night time. That's one teres Rav Amar. He says afilotem b'chatas behema. You can even say it's referring to a Messiah who is not poor, and the chatas that he brings is a chatas behema. Now the chatas behema, you do burn it on the mizbeach. So then the kasha comes back. My umed hayase. But what he does is the eitzah is mala umalina v'roshel mizbeach. He doesn't burn it on the mizbeach. He doesn't burn it on the mizbeach. What he does is he does the avodah. He does the avodah sadam. Then he brings the murim and he brings it to the top of the Mizbeach without burning it. Now, by leaving it on top of the Mizbeach, it's not possible belina. Normally, if you're not makriv it, by the morning time, it becomes possible. It's possible belina, and you can't be makriv it anymore. But if you put it and leave it on the top of the Mizbeach, there's no psulina. Therefore, what he does is he leaves it, and he leaves it till the morning, and then after the Tamid Shel Shachar of the next day, he can be makriv. The Avodas Adam was done from before. So therefore, the kapara, the Mitzayer has already. Therefore, he'll be able to eat, he'll be tayvel, and he'll eat his korbanos, the korban of the nighttime, the mekayim of the asset. There's no violation of the mitzvah hashlama because he leaves it on the top of the mizbeach. He doesn't burn it. He waits till the next morning after the Tamid Shel Shachar, and then he burns it on the mizbeach. Frek the Gemara. Well, v'ha'ika asham. There's still, we're talking about a mitzvah. There's an asham, and this is not a bird. This is a behemoth. Now, bishlama la rapapa, according to the eitzah that we just gave. Well, this eitzah would apply over here also. Hainu demalma. We put on the top of the mizbeach, and the same eitzah will apply here as well. But according to Rav Chisda, it was said the teretz that we're talking specifically by achatas ha'oiv, and by achatas ha'oiv, therefore there's no burning on the mizbeach. There's not a violation of the esev hashlama. But the Metzora also has to bring an asham. He also has to bring an asham, and that is not an oiv. Cannot come as a bird. What's the eighth over here? Where it says in Chanam Amri Shekar Vashama, we're talking in a case where there already were makriv the asham. You have to be talking in such a case. The Mashal asks, why don't we say that it's not talking about a Metzora? The asham is specific to Metzora. Why don't we talk about a different type of Mechusar Kippurim, a Zava, Yoledes? So perhaps we can say that, just like the Gemara is answering it, that Eichatimse Shekar Vashama, we're talking in Chanam, you could give another scenario, but we want to work out a scenario even by a Metzora that this will apply even a case by Metzora. Frank the Gemara va'ika oila. Well, what do you mean? The Metzora also brings an oila, and the oila has to be burnt on the Mizbeach. How can you bring it after the Tamid Shel Bein Arabayim? Perhaps you'll say the oil is not ma'akiv. Tanya, we learn in the Brisa. Rabbi Shmuel ben Oishel ben Roika Omer Geshem Shechatosa V'Hashama Ma'akvim. Just like the Metzora's chatas and asham is ma'akiv is kapora, and it's ma'akivim from eating kachim. Kach oilosa ma'akvosa. The korban oila is also ma'akiv. So what's the eitzah for the korban oila? So maybe you'll say the same teretz, like we said by the asham, where he was already makriv the oila. Break the gemor of mi karva oila sa kainam lachatas v'lachatas rishon. How can you be makriv the oila before the chatas? How can you be makriv first? The order is that the chatas has to be brought first. V'atanya we learned in a brisa v'hikriv es asher lachatas rishayna. It says he's makriv lachatas rishayna. Ma tamud loymar. Why does it have to tell me that if it says then the pasuk that you bring the chatas and the oila, and it says that the second one is brought for an oila? So if the second one is brought is for an oila, obviously the first one is a chatas. So why does it say v'hikriv es asher lachatas rishayna? Im l'lamet shtei kodemus la'oila harei kvar nemar v'es hasheni yaseh oila kamishpat. It says that the second one is an oila, so obviously the first one is a chatas. Why does it have to specify and say the first one is a chatas and lazeh bana of l'kol chatois? This is from you learn out as a binyanav to teach us in every case where you have a chatas and an oila, shehu that whenever you have a pair, chatas and oila, the chatas has to come first. And we have a limit to teach us that this teaches us that even a chatas ha'oiv comes before an oilas behema. So therefore, in the case of the Metzora, even if you would be talking about a scenario where the Metzora is poor and the chatas is an oiv, it still would come before the oilas behema. So therefore, in this scenario over here, how are we going to understand it that according to the teretz that we are not malin at the top of the Mizbeach, that according to Rav Papa, we understand it, but if you say according to Rav Chisda, well, the oilas ha'oiv, you can say that it's not an avoida, you're not burnt on the Mizbeach. But if you over time, but what about the oila? The oila is a behemoth, and therefore it has to be burnt. So how can you be now makriv that after the Talmud Shel Bein Harabayim? Why is it doicha the is esev ashlamam? Shiny oils mitzara. That's true generally speaking, but shiny oils mitzara derachmon alma. The Torah says vehela akayin es ha'oila. It says vehela akayin es ha'oila. Now it could have said in a more simple and more direct way ves ha'oila yala. It could say ves ha'oila yala, but it says vehela akayin es ha'oila. Now the vehela you can also interpret it. It means vehela he already brought up in the past. He brought it up already. So therefore it teaches you vehela akayin es ha'oila shehela kvar. Then he already brought the oil. Meaning, even though normally, generally speaking, we say where you have a chatas and an oil, you have the pair together, the chatas comes first. But in the case of the Mitzayir, it's different. Therefore, according to Rav Chisda, what we'll say is as follows: it's like the Asham, he was already makri. The oil, we're talking about a Mitzayir, he was already makri. Now he has the chatas. He wasn't makri the chatas. They were already makri the Talmud Shel Bein Harabayim. What can he do if he's not makriv the chatas? He won't be able to eat kachim at night and mekayim the essay. We say here it's not a problem because according to Rav Chisda it's a chatas ha'oiv. A chatas ha'oiv is not burnt on the mizbeach. There's only avodas adam, and therefore there's no violation of the essay of ashlama. The essay of ashlama is only on something that you're burning on the mizbeach. So therefore he says in this case we don't have an issue with it.